Very good evening. Myself Aniruddha Prabhu. Today I am going to explain about polymorphism. So basically, polymorphism in Java we are going to use to perform a single action in different way. So uh, for the background, let me tell you regarding this particular word. It's basically a Greek word which means poly and morphs, in the sense many forms. The word is clear, it is many forms. So in Java we are going to use two type of polymorphism, that is compile time and runtime. So whatever decision we are going to take during the compile time by the compiler, we generally mention it as compile time polymorphism. So whatever the decision is apart, means away from the compile time, and whatever the decision we are going to take during the runtime, generally we term it as runtime polymorphism. That runtime polymorphism, it will the decision will be generally taken by JVM, not by the compiler. Okay. So first one is runtime polymorphism. As I told, runtime polymorphism, it's basically a dynamic in the sense the nature of the polymorphism is dynamic. Here, neither the compiler is taking any sort of decision. The decision will be taken by JVM, that too based on the input or based on the particular scenario during the runtime. So here this process is in which call to any overridden method is resolved at the runtime rather than the compile time. So in this process, an overridden method is called through the reference variable of the superclass. So reference variable of the superclass. First, let me tell you what you mean by superclass and uh, I can tell extended class. You can see this class A generally we term it as superclass. Okay, then this one class B generally we term it as child class. This is extending the characteristic of superclass. For example, class A is there and class B is there. This is just a mere example. Class A is there, class B is there. Here class B is extending the characteristics of class A. Okay, so that's the superclass and child class definition. So before going in depth regarding runtime polymorphism, let me tell the basics regarding upcasting. So here upcasting in the sense, if the reference variable of the parent class, that is class A, refers to the object of child class, that is class B, it is generally we term it as upcasting. Generally we have seen if class A is there and class B is there, class B is extending class A. If I want to access any possible methods in the class B at that moment of time, I can tell I can generally define it as A is equal to, I mean class B is equal to A or B, it doesn't matter. It is just an variable. So B is equal to small b is equal to nu of B. It may be in this format. But here what happens, I am referring a variable, that is A, to the object of B, that is child class. You can see here A is equal to A. I'm giving a reference. Okay, this referential variable is referring to the object of class B, that is child class, super class and child class, right? This generally this format of definition we term it as upcasting. Up in the sense super, right? Because this is child class, this is super class. So from here to here, I am going to define. For example, A is the superclass. A, this particular superclass is superclass reference variable is referring to the object of the child class. That's it. This process we term it as upcasting. So here where the actual definition of our runtime works. So let me give you an example here. So you can see here the class bike is there. Okay, I'm going to define class bike. Remember here in the runtime, it's quite clear. Compiler is uh, no way in the scene. It doesn't take any sort of decision there, but it will be done by JVM. In Java, that to runtime decision will be taken by JVM, Java Virtual Machine. You can see class bike. I have defined one class called bike. In that, I am defining one method. Here, I cannot call this particular method as function, right? Method is method in the Java. That is same thing. Yes, you may tell that the method what I am defining here that may be the same as it is. It's like function of C, but technically it should be called as method. Okay, so class bike is there. In that one, I am going to define one method, that is void run. So the process is very simple. This is just for illustration. This particular void run, so it will print one possible statement, that is running. Okay, when I'm going to invoke this particular run of the class bike, I'm going to print running. But you can see here class splendor extends the characteristic of bike. So superclass is bike and child class is splendor. So here splendor is a child class of bike, that is a superclass, but it is incorporating the characteristic of the superclass. Here also I am going to define one more method called run. You can see both the methods are same here, run, and here it is going to print some more specific term, that is running safely with 60 kilometer. So public static void main I'm going to, but here I'm going to define, that is bike B. You can see this one, bike B is equal to new of splendor A. That means this particular reference of superclass is referring towards the object of child class. So generally we term it as upcasting. But when I am going to define like this, it's quite clear. If I mention it as like b dot run, if I want to access this particular method, if I mention it as b dot run, it doesn't print this particular statement. Instead, it will print this particular statement, that is running safety with 60 kilometer. The main reason is I have upcasted the statement, in the sense this particular object what I have defined here, I mean this particular referential variable what I have defined here, it is going to point to the object of the next class or next I can tell class child class. So definitely when I am going to invoke the run, so it will come here. Definitely I didn't invoke anything here. Definitely at that point of time this particular run will be executed. This is what we term it as runtime polymorphism. In case if I define bike B is equal to new of bike, at that point of time definitely this run is nothing but I am referring to this particular method's run. Clear? This is what we term it as runtime polymorphism. Remember, this particular decision will be taken by JVM at the runtime. So this is one example. That is same example, same runtime polymorphism example, but it's a bit more lengthier than that. You can see class shape. So the main superclass is class shape. In that, definitely, as I told, overriding the sense every I can tell every method will be same there. Okay, basically the method will be same, but which one to print, it will be I can sorry. So which one to print, the decision will be taken during runtime by JVM. You can see first I am going to define class shape. In that I have one particular method, that is void draw. It is going to print drawing. That's it. Then after that one class rectangle, it is going to extend the characteristic of the shape. So definitely one more, as I told, the particular function remains same, but it is going to print much more specific related to rectangle. For example, it is drawing rectangle. Once again, for the circle, definitely much more specific for the circle, it is drawing circle. Then for the triangle, the specific term being like drawing triangle. But you should not forget, all four methods are same. So definitely you may feel like, oh, four things are there. If I am going to call draw, in the sense which one to pick, that's where actually runtime works. You can see here in this particular class I am going to define a I'm going to define a referential variable, that is shape. Yes, that is for this particular class I'm going to create a referential variable. And next, whenever I'm going to mention it as is equal to new of rectangle, that means I'm going to give the reference to the object of this particular class, that is rectangle. That is number one. Then if I mention s dot draw, that means this one will be printed, because it's quite clear this particular referential object, that is s, created from the class, that is super class, it is going to refer the object of the child class. So that the particular reference will be here. So it is going to print this particular statement. So whenever I'm going to mention it like s is equal to new of circle, at that moment of time, that reference is going to shift towards this particular circle. So I'm going to print this one. So at that moment of time, for the triangle, the same explanation applies. So this one generally we term it as runtime polymorphism. Okay, this example is for shape. It may be anything. At the I can tell for this particular concept, here compiler doesn't take any sort of decision. The main thing is everything is confusion for compiler at this moment of time, because it doesn't know which one to invoke. It's quite clear. Yes, it can see draw. Okay, whenever it comes here, multiple draws are there. Which one to invoke? So here compiler cannot take the decision at that moment of time. During runtime, based on this particular reference, the particular decision will be taken here. Based on this particular reference, the decision will be taken during runtime. So second term is compile time polymorphism. So whenever an object is bound with their functionality at the compile time, this is known as compile time polymorphism. So here everything will be clear. Whatever you saw previously, you can use the same functions, but the point is input need to be differed, or at least the particular methods function method signature need to be changed there. Either it may be for input or it may be for the return type. The signature need to be changed. So at compile time, Java knows which method to call by checking the method signatures. Either it may be input for the particular method, or it may be return type. So this is called as compile time polymorphism or static. Generally, it will be static. As I told, the decision will be taken during compile time. So compile time polymorphism is achieved through method overloading. So there we are going to write the method, the same method with the same name, and return type will be same. Nothing will vary there. So that's why I am terming it as overriding. So here I am going to overload, because the signature need to be changed. If not, it will lead to error. So method overloading says you can have more than one functions with the same name in class having a different prototype. Okay, so I'll show an example here. So public class, the class name is test, and here I'm going to define one method, that is publish static int add. So two variables are there. So that is int a comma int b. It is going to return addition of two numbers. At the same time, I have one more function, that is public static double add. You can see it is add, both are add function, but here the return type is int and the input type is also int. Here also the return type is double, but the parameter types is also double for this one. So here it is integer and it is double. That's where we created a difference. So here compiler can easily make out that yeah, here integer is there and here double is there. So that means there is a difference. So whenever I'm going to call based on that data, it can easily make out that whichever is integer and whichever is of type double. So you can see here once it is also going to return two numbers. Whenever I'm going to call, you can see publish static void main. Whenever I am going to call this particular add, so here compiler will just come out, then it will see add. So two particular variables are there. Okay, here also two variables are there and here also two variables are there. So which one to select? At this moment of time, compiler will see the input type. So here input type is 2 comma 3 in the sense it can't be double. So definitely it's a integer. So it will go there. It will just search for the prototype of type integer. It is here int a comma int b. So that means this is the function which I am expecting here. So it will be like 2 plus 3 and 5 will be returned. Next, it will come here. At this moment of time, once again, compiler will check whether which add need to be called. For that one, you can see here two numbers are there. That is 2.0 and 3.0. At this moment of time, definitely more than integer, it's a double. So here, this particular function will lead towards this function, that is double a comma double b. There, definitely here also I am going to get the value 5.0. Both may be 5 and there may not be that difference, but it's quite simple that it is of type double, it is of type integer. So here I can receive the value 5 and here I am going to receive the value 5.0. So let us execute this program and see. Okay, so just a small example regarding our overriding. So you can see first one I'm going to define a class called vehicle. Here I have defined one method, that is run. So it is going to print vehicle.run. Secondly, I have defined one child class which is extending the characteristics of the superclass. Once again, the child class contains one possible method, that is run, and it is going to print bike is running. So at compile time, definitely the difference can't be done, right? It cannot differentiate between two methods. At this moment of time, I can tell where what I am defining, it will lead to the selective result. You can see public static void main. I am going to define one referential variable of child class, that is this one, that is bike2 object2 is equal to new of bike2, right? The same child class, right? At this point of time, which one to print? That is this statement. As I told, that is bike is running. The main reason is this referential class of child, right? This referential object for child class is referring to the same child class object. So at this moment of time, during runtime, it's quite clear that this is referring here. That means this one will be printed. So I can, if I run that one, we'll get the same thing. That is bike is running. Bike is running safely. Now let's see. So bike 2 was there, right? Let's go for our. So this one is right now. I am going to define one more object, that is one more referential object for the super class, and I am going to initiate it for the object of the child class. Let's see what happens. Okay. Yeah, okay, okay. So here you can see once again I did the same thing, like vehicle, that is this one, that is main object reference, that is going to refer to the bike 2. Definitely it is going to print the same thing. Let's alter and see once again. Now let's change this as bike. So child, that is bike 2, that is our child class. Now let's do the alteration, that is like it is so now it is referring to the superclass object. So the child referential variable is referring to the superclass object. Let's see how it works. Okay, so we got an error. That's like vehicle cannot be converted to superclass. Whenever we try to interchange at that moment of time, we cannot interchange regarding our at least child class and the parent class. Now let's interchange once again. Where is the vehicle object1 is equal to new of vehicle. Okay, now we can see this particular vehicle, that is superclass. It is this particular object of superclass. It is pointing to the object of the superclass itself, right? This particular referential object is referring to the object of superclass itself. Now let's see how it works. So it is vehicle is running. So it's clear now, right? So its first combination was when superclass was referring to the superclass variable was referring to the child class object. Definitely I can tell this one is going to print. So whenever the superclass variable is referring to the object of superclass itself, this is going to print. The content of superclass is going to print this run. But remember, whenever we try to invoke or we try to refer the content of the superclass via child class, it can't be done. It will lead to error. So this is regarding our runtime polymorphism. So now second one, as I told, it was overloading. You can see I've created one a class there, public class GFG or something. Wherever you do it, remember first one should be capital. You can give any name there. The first particular word should be capital. And generally, while working with any other the platforms, the name of the file should be same as the name of the class. So here you can see I have defined two functions. First one is public static integer add, that is going to add two integers, return a plus b. Second one is public static double add double a comma double b. So it is going to return two variables. I mean that particular addition of two numbers. So when we are going to define it here during the compiler time itself, it's clear that we are going to means compiler is going to select which particular functions. For example, system.out.println add 2 comma 3, that means 2 is integer, 3 is integer. So in these two functions, both the functions name is same, that is add, but it's of type integer, it's of type double. So that's the difference. So here whenever it is 2.2 comma 3, it will select this particular function. So it will be 2 plus 3 is equal to 5. So whenever it will be 2.0 comma 3.0, it will select this particular double. So it is going to return 5.0. So this is of the type overloading. So here generally the combination permutation and combination won't be there like our overriding. So this is bit easy compared to overloading to understand. Compared to overriding to understand. I hope it's clear. Thank you.